All right, let's get right into it. We are hacking one of the biggest, baddest conditions in the ICU, acute respiratory distress syndrome, ARDS. And look, this isn't just some lung problem, okay? This is a full-on systemic crisis. Let's break it down.
You have to get this concept right from the start. ARDS is a firestorm. It's a systemic inflammatory explosion. Think of it as a non-cardiogenic storm. What does that mean? It means the lungs' tiny air sacs, the alveoli, are getting totally flooded. But it's not because the heart is failing. No. It's because the capillaries themselves have become leaky as hell.
So how do we nail the diagnosis? It's all about the Berlin criteria. It's basically a 4-point checklist. First, there's got to be a new trigger within the last week. Second, you see that classic bilateral whiteout on the chest x-ray. It looks awful. Third, their oxygenation is in the tank, which we confirm with a P to F ratio below 300. And finally, and this is the absolute key, you have to prove it's not the heart's fault.
Now hold on, before we go any deeper, I want to lock in the single most important life-saving thing you can do. We call it the survival law, and for good reason. Low tidal volume ventilation. 6 ml per kilogram of ideal body weight. I want you to burn that number into your brain because everything else we're going to talk about is built on protecting the lungs, and this is how you do it.
Okay, and here's our mandatory disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes, specifically for international medical exams. It is not, I repeat, not medical advice. For any real-life clinical decisions, you always consult the official guidelines and an intensive care specialist.
All right, let's play out a classic exam question. You've got a patient with massive sepsis who all of a sudden can't breathe. You get an x-ray and it's a complete whiteout. Now you might think, oh, it's heart failure, but is it really? This is the fundamental question you have to answer. Are we dealing with a pump problem or a pipe problem? And this slide just lays it out perfectly. A pump problem, that's your classic cardiogenic pulmonary edema, is when the heart just can't pump hard enough, so pressure backs up into the lungs. Simple, right? But a pipe problem, which is ARDS, is totally different. That's when the lung capillaries themselves are damaged goods, wrecked by inflammation. They get super leaky and just dump protein-rich fluid into the alveoli, even when the heart is pumping just fine.
So how do you prove it? What's the secret key that unlocks the whole thing? It's the pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, the PCWP. This is a measurement that basically tells you the pressure in the left atrium. And here's the magic number. If that wedge pressure is less than 18, the heart is innocent. It proves the problem isn't the pump. The lungs are wet because the pipes are broken. That, my friends, is ARDS.
Now pay attention, because this is where so many people get tripped up on their exams. The patient's oxygen is low, so the next best step has to be just cranking up the oxygen, right? Wrong. That is a classic board failure. Sure, you need oxygen, but it is not the intervention that's been proven to actually improve survival.
The real monster we're fighting here is something called volutrauma. See, tidal volume is just how much air the ventilator shoves into the lungs with each breath. In ARDS, a lot of the lung is already damaged and useless, so if you use a standard big tidal volume, you're forcing all that air into the few healthy alveoli that are left. You overstretch them and you literally rip them apart. You're trying to help, but you're actually causing more damage.
And this brings us right back to our survival law. The whole point is to set that ventilator to a low tidal volume, exactly 6 milliliters per kilogram of ideal body weight. This strategy protects what's left of the healthy lung tissue from that volutrauma. I'm going to say it again. It is the single most important ventilator setting that is proven to save lives in ARDS.
Okay, let's build on that. You've correctly started low tidal volume ventilation, but your patient is still dangerously hypoxic. What's the next move? You initiate prone positioning. That's right, you physically flip the patient onto their stomach. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly effective. It helps recruit collapsed alveoli in the back of the lungs and gets that oxygenation up.
Now for a really cool, kind of counterintuitive idea. When you're using these low tidal volumes, you're not moving as much air in and out, which means the carbon dioxide level is going to go up. This is called permissive hypercapnia. And here's the thing, we do it on purpose. We allow the CO2 to rise as a tactical trade-off. We accept a higher CO2 to achieve the way more important goal of protecting those lungs from getting blasted by the ventilator.
Okay, let's drill these core concepts, rapid fire. Think of this as your emergency algorithm. First thing you check, P to F ratio. And if it's below 300, boom, RDS is on the table. You've confirmed it. Now you can figure out if it's mild, moderate, or severe. But wait, Before you can really call it ARDS, you got to make sure the heart's not the problem. So you check that key pressure.
And that number is less than 18, that confirms it's a non-cardiogenic, a pipe problem. The heart is off the hook.
So the diagnosis is locked in. What is the one, the only intervention that is absolutely proven to save lives?
It's the survival law. Low tidal volume, 6 ml per kilogram of ideal body weight. It is completely non-negotiable.
Okay, next step. You've done that, you've turned up the PEEP, but the O2 sats are still in the danger zone. What's your next move?
You flip them. Prone positioning. That's the next proven step in the algorithm to get more lung working and boost that oxygenation. And all this leads us back to that final, kind of weird tactic that you have to be totally okay with. Permissive hypercapnia. It is absolutely allowed. You are making a strategic sacrifice. You accept higher CO2 levels to save the lungs from injury, period.
So there you have it. You've now mastered the non-cardiogenic storm and how to manage it. But what happens when the respiratory failure isn't some acute inflammatory explosion, but a subtle, chronic blockage that only happens when someone's asleep? We'll tackle that next time.